Now, I'll just introduce all the people that we have that currently are in the studio. I have a regular who is here, and certainly I also have to tell you about all the discussions we'll be having. I have Dr. Abdul Ganiyu, as usually the name I know him by, but I know that he also has Abudu. So it's Dr. Abdul Ganiyu. He is a technical advisor to the office of the finance minister, or to the finance minister. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I believe you were here last week.
Sure.
Yeah, certainly. And then also Edu Tamaklo is a legal practitioner and director for the legal directorate of the NDC as well. He's a regular on the show, especially if you want to see him on Mondays, you can, when he has a time. Very often he has a time for us. So good morning to all of you.
Yeah, good morning.
Oh, great. So we have a subject to discuss. It's our concerns being raised about the depreciation of the Cedi, amid concerns about the Bank of Ghana's and government's role when it comes to what we need to do by way of monetary policy, and then the stability of the currency as we have it. And then subsequently we'll deal with the registration processes thereof. But we'll kickstart the discussion, take you through. Togbi Apede had been raising a number of issues as well. Why the Bank of Ghana had been instrumental in cashing out from the banks, and subsequently also playing a role in that same space, and the Cedi also being affected. So we'll put that on the screen for you. And well, we'll have to begin a discussion. Why? So he says that the Bank of Ghana spends a lot of money on its employees.
I thought that let me just do a very quick correction. Anybody listening to you this morning will form the impression that, first of all, good morning to our viewers.
Can you take this one off in the meantime?
Yes, will form the impression that this morning, if you go to Kotoka International Airport, and you are booked to fly to Kumasi, you will be going into the new terminal. Let me say this, that terminal is not ready.
September.
It's not ready for use. And you know the reason. The contractura, as a result of the domestic debt exchange program we entered into, it affected the funding for the completion of the project. And so they have left sites. And that is why government is hoping that by September, we will be able to finish. So right now, if you move to Kumasi, unlike what you just said, you have the benefits of that particular facility. So I just wanted to put that. Okay. So people's expectation will be
So what I meant was that if you go, at least for the sight and sound of it, you get to the airport as well, you get to see what, as we have seen in the pictures, and what we carried in our stories as well. Thank you also for that clarification as well. Of course, there's some historical antecedent for that. But Dr. Ganiyu, subsequently, because you are with the finance minister, what really is accounting for the instability, so to speak, of the Cedi? Over the last 1 month, it's been misbehaving. There have been those in industry as well as academia who have alluded certain reasons why it looks like.
Well, I think it's important to appreciate, of course, let me also say good morning to listeners across the country. We have to look at the data, and year-to-date depreciation is around 12%. The same period last year, the depreciation was around 27%. So that certainly tells that even though there has been depreciation, but it has been slower compared to what the depreciation was same period last year. So that is something that all of us have to agree on. Now, regarding the causes of the depreciation that has been recorded, notwithstanding the fact that it's 12%, that certainly is still concerning to both the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana. If you go
the minister is concerned?
No, of course the minister is concerned.
Because the way you make it seem is as if that is...
No. I mean, whatever the level
Because you seem to justify that with the rate of depreciation.
I am not justifying that. I'm just
trying
what are you saying? I'm trying to put the whole conversation in context so that we can understand that, yes, our cedi has always depreciated. Whether we like it or not, we have experienced exchange rate volatility from the get-go, so as far as our development is concerned. But the concern has always been the rates of depreciation. And I'm saying that 2023, the cedi in the first half of the year depreciated much more than it has depreciated in the last couple of months. And then we can begin to look at the causes or the reasons that may have accounted for the current level of depreciation. If you look at the US dollar on the international market, if you compare that to the pound sterling, compare that to euro and all the other major trading currencies, the US dollar has actually strengthened. And that is what it is. So that whilst we are concerned about measures that we have to put in place to ensure the strength of our local currency, we should also know that the US Treasury and managers of the US economy are equally putting measures in place to ensure that their currency becomes stronger. And that is what it is. So that's certainly one of the reasons. And then over the last couple of months, we've also experienced something. In February, for example, coupons that were maturing under the domestic debt exchange program of about 5.8 billion Ghana cedis that was paid. Is that okay? So you can expect what we call a high liquidity of the cedi in the system. We've also made payments to contractors for a lot of IPCs that were pending over a period. So huge, significant payments have been made to contractors. And if you speak to contractors across the country, I can assure you that they are extremely happy about those payments that have been made to them.
Which contractors? You mean
contractors generally,
our
roads contractors, our domestic contractors in any kind of industry.
How much was
that you
paid
can
to
expect.
them? Since you're closer to the finance
well,
minister.
I will not be able to tell you the exact figures, but what I know is that contractors have received some significant payments over this period. Is that okay? Now, the other issue has to do with the fact that if you look at, for example, the agreements that we have with the IMF, we are supposed to keep a certain level of gross international reserves, and the Bank of Ghana must ensure that those reserves are kept no matter what. So if you look at the amount of dollars that they release regularly onto the forex market, they are limited in a way, you know. So these are some of the reasons that certainly would have accounted for the recent depreciation of the cedi. And of course, we are still in the first half of the year, and a lot of MNCs are repatriating profits around this time. And let's not also discount the fact that we are in an election year. So mostly this happens, you know, in every elections where a lot of individuals, companies, so on and so forth, tend to look for dollar assets more or less than the cedi, just waiting for the election to be over for business as usual to kick in. So generally, these are some of the reasons that have accounted for the recent depreciation of the cedi. But we should be confident going forward that for the rest of the year, we should be able to tame the depreciation. The cedi should be able to hold its own and perhaps begin to regain even some value if you look at all the inflows that are expected for the rest of the year. We have successfully reached a staff level agreement with the IMF. Next month, the expectation is that when the executive board meets, they should be able to approve a 360 million US dollars as the third tranche to come into our coffers. And once that happens, we also have what we call the Development Policy Operation 2 under the World Bank, and we're expecting some 300 million US dollars to come in as well. Just last week, the Minister of Finance was in Togo to conclude negotiations.
To the Finance Minister?
Yes, to conclude negotiations with the EcoBank Bank for Investment and Development, and we're expecting some 200 million US dollars to come to the Ghana Exim Bank as well as the GCB. And again, negotiations are also ongoing to be able to sign up for what we all know as a COCO syndicated loan to come before the end of the year. So if you put all of these together, the forex market would experience a lot more dollars going forward, and that certainly should be able to tame depreciation for the rest of the year. So the market should be very confident, and I'm just giving the assurance that all these measures would ensure that the cedi does not depreciate further.
Now, if you make considerations that from the period of September, October 2022, we've had experiences with the cedi in relation to the international trading currencies, the cedi, the US dollar wavering, to the point that even the current minister or former minister of information, Kojo Ponkroma, said if you were other people, I mean, they're keeping their cedi at the time, their dollar at the time will be worthless. And you look at it today, 14.9 on the streets, even though the Bank of Ghana rate may be lower, but even 15, depending on the quantum you want at the time. Would you say that some of these arguments, like Dr. Ganu, who is a technical advisor to the finance ministry, is making, perhaps seems to sync with that sort of argument?
You see, this morning, if you are listening to my friend here who says for his...
Dr. Ganu, it's called Dr. Ganu.
Yeah, doctor, a technical advisor to the finance minister. It tells you how hopeless this country has become.
How do you mean?
Of all the measures that he listed this morning, the bottom line is we are going to borrow to shore up our reserve. Of all the measures he listed this morning, and the hope that he wants Ghanaians to, as it were, believe, is how much we are going to borrow. Nothing more, nothing else. He says the minister just went to Togo to complete a borrowing negotiation that will bring 200 million. He said, wait, September, we'll start cocoa season, syndicated loan, borrowing. Everything that he has stated this morning is about borrowing. It reminds me of Eslawusu in opposition. He said, if governance is all about borrowing, her 19-year-old son can proudly lead this country.
I think she says 17. Or...
Look, after 7 years of managing the Ghanaian economy, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who in opposition was, talking anyhow, today, the bold solutions to resolve the depreciation of the cedi is more borrowing. Now, you see, this is a government that has already borrowed this country out of prosperity. This is a government that has borrowed its way to the point that we had to sign a DDEP, as described by the former Chief Justice, like a military regime. That is the dubious record of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the chair of the economic management team. And today, if all that Ghanaians should hope on is that we are going to borrow more in order to stabilize the Ghana cedi, not because the 7 years of Bawumia leading the economy, there had been any structural transformation that we can rely on. It should be so much of a great concern to us. But you see, why are we here in the first place? Why did we get here in the first place? When Bawumia took over this economy, you recall that he had arrested the dollar and had given the key to who?
I don't understand. What do you mean he had arrested?
But that was what he said. He said he had arrested the dollar.
You mean the 2017-2018
Absolutely.
Event? And given the key
and
to
then
the
giving the key to the IGP.
What's the relevance today?
The relevance is that what has happened to the arrested dollar? Who released the dollar from the jail that Bawumia put it? Talk. Comical issues. When there are serious economic discussions, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia reduces it to comical issues. That today, we are where we are because This government had the opportunity, when they came to power, to look at the structural issues and resolve it. What were they doing? From 2017 April, they went on a borrowing spree, like there was never going to be tomorrow. By 6 years, from the Eurobond market alone, they had taken in excess of $11 billion. To the point that our debt became unsustainable. You know that for the first time, we were so downgraded to the point that Bank of Ghana had to now become our Eurobond, whatever, and to be printing more monies into the economy. So the Ghana Cedi that you are seeing today is a reflection of the incompetent management of the economy led by no other person but Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. What is even more shocking? Do you know that this administration went for Eurobond and came back and did a Kenke party, you remember, to mark a successful borrowing, the one at the Ministry of Finance.
The one that
Wache, and they were all eating and others.
What has that got to do with
I'm telling you something. When they went for that borrowing, they added what is called prospectus. In the prospectus, they told the Eurobond investors that we're going to do 500,000 barrels of crude annually. They ended up deceiving Eurobond investors.
How can you draw that?
No, I'm telling you. So they told this investor that from 2020, Ghana will be doing 500,000 barrels of crude a day. And so the people put their money, believing this story. From 2020 to date, we have not done 300,000 barrels a day. And that is what has brought the economy, the deception, the lies that were told these investors. They were lured to give their money to government of Ghana. The end result is that government of Ghana then tells these people that we can't pay you. So DDEP. How would this economy function? When you are ruling or managing an economy with lies and deception. Look, the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia model is akin to the Nam1 model that he used to get people to buy his, what do you call it, that gold instrument that he was. It was the same model that Akufo-Addo used on Eurobond investors. And you see, if you're a businessman this morning, you do import and export, you transact your businesses in dollars, right? And you are expecting that something good will come out of this incompetent administration. I am just telling you, we've all had a technical advisor. The hope of this administration from now to December is how much they will borrow to shore up our reserve. That is their only bold solution to arresting the depreciation of the cedi.
What are you expecting when we're told that the fundamentals of the economy really need strengthening?
They have destroyed the fundamentals. So the cedi is basically on performance enhancing drug. The cedi does not have a strength of its own. Now listen carefully. As we speak today, the external component of our debt, we are not servicing it by reason of the DDEP and the arrangement we have so far. Now, if at the time when we are not servicing the external component of our debt, the cedi is doing 15 Ghana cedis to $1. Imagine if we resume the servicing of the external component of our debt. Because, as you know, by way of public finance, you do not pay your debt with Ghana cedi. You have to mobilize more and then do this. As we speak, by reason of the depreciation, you know this popular company, delivery company, Glovo or something?
Yeah, Glovo.
Good. So if they had brought about $30 million to invest in this country. Locally. By reason of the cedi depreciation alone, it has wiped the value
of that dollar. Investment.
Okay. And so, so you will notice that if today Glovo, says they have made 60 million Ghana cedi okay, in terms of turnover, if you do the dollar equivalent, it becomes smaller compared to their initial investment. And because of that, you notice that major multinationals are running away. The currency issues.
So it's not because they are not making money. They are making the money, but
you
the
make
value
the money, the
in
value.
US terms.
So if in 2020, okay, global made say 20 million Ghana cedis, the dollar equivalent of it would have been say maybe $5 million. But today, that same 20 million Ghana cedi can only give them $2 million. So, by reason of the incompetence of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and can you imagine this? At the critical time when Ghanaians are looking for solution to this problem, what does he do? He calls his party people to do a program and come there with a steering wheel.
No, but that's...
No, hold on. Hold on, I beg you.
No, let's put it in.
And they give this steering wheel to him, right? To hold it in a public program.
Oh, Eduji, why you
see? Major investors, businessmen are watching. They are seeing the depreciation, the wiping away of their wealth by reason of the depreciation of the Ghana cedi. They are expecting that leadership response will be some level of seriousness. But what do you see your vice president do? He gets his party people to prepare him a steer in a public program, hold the steer and say, look, my Jimmy Stiano, that be all. At the moment when people are expecting something useful, seriousness, do you know what is happening to people's businesses?
Eduji, that is a campaign. Why do you equate that?
Do you know, if you have a friend, if you have a friend who has a mortgage in dollars, speak to the person this morning. People are crying. People are weeping. People are suffering. Because leadership that is supposed to respond to their problem, leadership cannot. And rather, we have turned serious business of governance into jokes to the point that this morning I am even worried that our hope is that we are expecting $200 million borrowed money. We are expecting another money from IMF borrowed. That is the hope.
Okay, let me speak.
How did we get here?
Let me speak to Professor Lord Mensa so that we all get some perspective. At least all of us know that for those who are in academia, and even Dr. Ganiu had been in academia before being a technical advisor to the finance minister. So it all puts the issues into perspective. Professor Lord Mensa, good morning to you if you're hearing me.
Yeah, good morning, Roland. And good morning to our listeners.
Okay. I know that by way of the study of the economy in terms of how the cedi depreciates, etc., there's a certain cycle to it. Can you first take us through that cycle, and at which point within the typical fiscal year does it happen?
Well, I think we've got past that cycle now. We are in the first month of the second quarter. That is in May.
Okay.
I mean, the first quarter usually ends in April. That is what is we expect. You know, those who imported, their inventories, they've sold them out during the Christmas, and, they are going to, bring in more. And as a result of that, they may want to convert the cedi that they generated in terms of their revenue to go and import. And then the multinationals who are also repatriating to their owners may need to convert their cedis to the dollar. So obviously, in the first quarter of every year, when the accounting, processes has ended, it puts pressure on the cedi. But we have gone past that. What is happening in this country, I think we may have to appreciate the dynamics clearly. What is happening is that we had problem with our exchange rate because of depletion of our balance of payments. And we have hung on this balance of payment depletion for quite a long time now. And what is happening is that we've gotten to a point where, we call something self-fulfilling, crisis. That is what is happening to the cedi now. It is self-fulfilling crisis in the sense that, we've concentrated our hope in making up the dollar stable through the IMF program. So those who are holding up the dollar and those who are trading with the dollar have certain expectations. That is, in expectation of the IMF, inflows, and therefore unlocking other ancillary inflows. And if your hope is mainly on the IMF program, IMF inflows, and the signal is not clear, then that expectation that the trader of the exchange funds is holding will definitely change into reality, and that is what is manifesting, on the market as we speak now. So it has to do with expectations of this overly concentrated IMF money, because so far government has not given us any signal of alternatives that can reduce the demand for the dollar, and as a result of that, more hope is being banked on this IMF money, and that is what is causing this problem. So the more the IMF inflows drag, right, the more we're going to see the Cedi depreciating. And then also, remember, before we went into our debt suspension, right, external debt service suspension.
Certainly.
We had the Cedi jumping to around 15, Ghana cedis per the dollar. That was around 2020, early part of 2023. And actually, that was the true level of the Cedi. But then, in a way, we used this managed exchange rate regime by suspending our external debt and then more or less suppressing the depreciation of the Cedi. Because if you need, more dollars on our market, as government will also demand the dollars to go and service its external debt, the Cedi will find its level. And what happened is that we have been suppressing it for some time now. And I can tell you that the actual level of the Cedi is not what we are seeing now. We're more or less running the management of the Cedi as kind of interventional, exchange rates, management. And that is what will always push the Cedi to the level where we find it's now. Right. So I can say that, yes, indeed, it's, the overly concentration of the IMF program, a way of sending that signal to the public that is the only way we can, manage the Cedi. And that is what is causing this, because the IMF program is dragging. So whoever is in need of the dollar doesn't know the end to, that particular release. And that will put pressure on the dollar.
Now, I don't know whether you saw this missive or write-up by Togbi Apede by the weekend. I think it came around Friday, Saturday. And he partly blames the Bank of Ghana in its dealings with the commercial banks and the way it is managing the monetary policy in relation to how much and at the rate at which it gives the currency to the commercial banks seem to be also exacerbating the issue. How would you respond to that in terms of the role of the Bank of Ghana in all this?
Yeah, I think the Bank of Ghana, has to do with the pool. If your economic activities are not bringing the dollar as expected, let's look at in the space, what brings in the dollar? We're talking about major exports. We're talking about, the inflows from, it used to be the Eurobond market. We're talking about, cocoa syndicated loan. Remember, government suspended its cocoa beans delivery this year. So that means that we may defer, the issue of the cocoa syndicated loan. And as a result of that, that may affect the buffer. So as for Bank of Ghana, once the buffer is depleting, obviously, they cannot do anything about it. Dollar is not our currency. We don't print dollars. And so if the currency is depleting as a result of our fiscal economic activities that we're not able to put in place to ensure that we bring in more dollars or reduce the dollar demand in the country, then obviously Bank of Ghana hasn't got control. All
right. When Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said the dollar has been captured, arrested, and the key sent to the IGP, you look at that saying, and up to now, what might have caused the extreme depreciation to the point of being 14.915 on the local market or on the streets?
Yeah, I think it has to do, those are political semantics. I mean, for me, I think we if you have an economy where structurally you've not done much, you know, when you have programs like planting for food and jobs that's supposed to reduce certain targeted, you know, food imports, you know, when you have one district, one factory that is not producing to reduce imports. I mean, obviously, you don't expect to control the dollar. So from where I sit, I mean, those are political semantics. I mean, seriously, in economics, we will not take that.
Right. Thank you for your short time. Professor Lord Mensah, we all know him as a financial economist, senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School, currently on a sabbatical with GIMPA currently. But Dr. Ganiu, at the end of the day, if you take a look at what the policies had been intended to improve import substitution, etc., can we then draw the conclusion that all the efforts to make sure that ideally we would have been able to improve that in terms of the import substitution and then improve the Cedi that we have, we seem to have failed at it?
Well, let me address a few concerns.
Which of the concerns? From who? The professor? Or?
Oh, from both.
Okay.
Both my brother here.
Please go ahead.
And Professor Lord Mensah. First of all, it's not true that we are not servicing our external debts. Multilateral debts are being serviced. So you need to get that clarity. Of course, we are negotiating with the bilateral creditors and the commercial creditors. And once all of that is done, we will set a clear roadmap on how these debts are going to be serviced. But multilateral debts, which are also external, are being serviced. So he needs to understand that. Now, when he talks about borrowing, last week, I alluded to the fact that when they were coming into office in 2009, total debt of Ghana was 9.8 billion. By the time
you said that we're here?
Yes, I said that on this program. I think I was with my big brother, Honorable Sohiyini. Good.
Yeah.
And our debts, when they were leaving, was 122 billion. So if you actually looked at the increase percentage-wise, it went up by 12-fold.
You mean
12
the percentage
times.
increase?
Exactly.
From when?
From 2009 to 2016.
Okay, so 2009 to
2016.
And the debt
was 9.8 billion. 2016, it was 122 billion.
122.
2 billion. As we speak, our debts are around 610 billion. All right? From 122 billion to 610 billion, that is a 5-fold increase. So whichever way you look at it, there are increases.
Okay.
But in terms of the whooping increase, they have added more to our national debts than what has happened over the last 7 years.
You're not
That is a fact.
How can you make this argument?
Yes, you see, so, when you are making an analysis, it's important to use the right statistic. Okay. You don't just do an analysis by simply looking at by simply looking at absolute numbers, for example.
Okay.
Is that okay? So that is key, and we need to understand that. So it's not as if
Dr. Ganiu, wait for me. So if let's say you're a viewer, you're an ordinary Ghanaian who retails in Makola Market, and you are arguing that 9.8 billion to 22 billion, and you look at that figure, 110 billion in terms of the absolute figure.
Yes.
And then you look at 610 billion.
Yes.
And the absolute figure, you look at the deductions, is an extra 500 billion.
Yes.
And you arguing because of the percentage rate.
But the fact is that you are also growing. If you could allow me,
how can you make
that
argument as an academic? That an administration that increased debt from 9.8 billion to 122 billion, and the current administration increased that debt from 122 billion to 610 billion, has done better.
Okay, so in academia, we don't use absolute numbers to make any meaningful analysis.
I see.
Is that okay? Yes, that's why you have statistics. So
I understand
whether it's
a
a
bit about
percentage,
statistics.
is a
We
mean,
all have gone through
whether
all that.
exactly. So whether it's the mean, the mode, so on and so forth. These are interesting stuff for purposes of analysis. So you can just look at the figures on the face value and rush to the conclusion that yes, it has increased more. But you also have to look at the fact that it's been for a period of 7 years, a period of 8 years. Is that okay? So in terms of the increases on a percentage basis,
okay,
I am saying that your debts have
So what about the increases in the
So,
absolute figures?
Absolute figures, it is what it is. Yes.
It is what? Tell me. Yeah, no, tell me.
Yes, 9.8 to 122 billion.
And then?
And 122 to 610
So which one
billion.
is more?
It's more in the absolute. I've just agreed to that. But I'm just telling you that
So the
in terms
MPP
of the percentage
administration rather
increases,
has increased our debt in absolute figures.
yes, but in percentage terms, it went up much more in their term than it has under the MPP. That's also a fact. So let me now proceed. Now, the other issue has to do with the exchange rate depreciation. You see, if you look at the figures from 2017 onwards, when Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said we had arrested the dollar, it was based on what the data provided. And in fact, in 2017, the Cedi depreciated by only 4.87%. In 2018, it depreciated by 8.38%. In 2019, it depreciated by 12.9%. And of course, you would understand what would have happened here from the COVID era, from 2019. And then 2020, it came down to even 3.93%. 2021 was 4.1%. Now, the two outliers, so as far as the 7-year period is concerned, has to do with 2022 and 2023. And we all know what the cause, or if you want, it is as a result of the after effect of COVID on the global economy, on the Ghanaian economy. Anytime I talk about that, people say that issue has been overflowed. But it is what it is. But I'm sure Ghanaians know. Anybody who's
You
been
don't
through
think that issue
period,
has been overflowed?
certainly. That's what people say. And he says that he would say that simply because they do not want to admit the fact that things were going on well until COVID struck. And again, it is not only Ghana that was affected by COVID. It is the entire global economy. And the entire global economy has really not fully recovered yet from the shocks of COVID. So those are the facts. So the outliers were actually the year 2022 and the year 2023. But if you look at the Cedi depreciation under the NDC, the highest they recorded was in 2014. And 2014, the Cedi depreciated by 31.25%, even higher than each of the years under the MPP that the Cedi surely experienced depreciation. This one without COVID, without Russia-Ukraine war, they suffered. So as far as handling or managing the Cedi is concerned, 31.25%. The highest depreciation under the MPP was 30%, and everyone knows exactly what the cause.
What's the current
of that
depreciation rate
is.
now from 2017 or even from 2019?
From the beginning of this year. So year to date, depreciation is currently 12%.
No, I'm asking a
okay?
question. Please answer my question. Don't choose which question.
Okay, so ask your question.
So I'm asking you. You are saying there was an outlier.
Yes.
Up to 2019.
Exactly.
And then COVID struck.
And
I'm saying that from 2021.
Okay.
To as we speak today.
What has been the year-on-year depreciation of the Cedi?
Up to today, yes.
Exactly. So in 2021, we experienced a depreciation of 4.1%, and then 2022 was 30%, and 2023 was 27.81%.
So how can that be better than any other?
Oh, Roland, you get the context. It's about figures, it's about data that we are dealing with here. And he talks about, he ran very far with the fact that the Cedi has been depreciated, it has been bullished, so on and so forth under the MPP. And I've just given you the data that when it comes to depreciation, they experience the highest level of depreciation even without a Russia-Ukraine war and without COVID. But even with the Russia-Ukraine war and COVID, the outliers for those particular years are still lower than what they experience. That is the point I am making, and we need to understand that in context. The cedi has always depreciated. That is a fact. Is that okay? Of course, sometimes marginally it gains some bit of value, but overall, in the year, if you strike the average, you would find that the cedi surely would have depreciated.
Right.
So that's the second issue I think we have to deal with. Now, he talks about 200 billion being a loan, and of course, the 200 million being a loan, and then 360 million is also a loan, so on and so forth. Yes, this loan is coming in, and the whole idea is to support the Ghana Exim Bank, support the GCB, and it will be targeted at SME
and that
financing.
is going to help us.
And that is going to target SME financing. Yes, it's going to help us in two ways.
Turn around.
One is the fact that it shores up our foreign reserves to be able to strengthen the cedi for the rest of the year, but also what it will be targeted at, it's SME growth, SME financing. And that certainly is going to generate economic growth. So it's not money that is coming in for anybody to chop, but at the end of the day, it's going to be pumped specifically into the growth of industry. And we know that the 360 million is by virtue of the IMF program. They went for an IMF program equally. And are they saying that it was wrong when the IMF probably was giving money in tranches? And that's the third tranche that we are going to receive in June.
Right.
And that ties in with the point Professor Lord Mensah makes, that it's as if the IMF program is dragging. Please, it is not dragging. And that is the assurance I want to give to the market. Everything we have done under the IMF program has gone according to schedule. They were here from April 2, ended the review April 13, and we held a joint press conference to give an indication that we had reached a staff level agreement. That is according to schedule. The executive board will be sitting in June. And the assurances we are getting is that once they sit, they'll give approval for the release of the $360 million. So everything
And that
has
is
gone.
what is unsettling the market.
No, it is not. It doesn't have to, because it's
Dr.
according
Gani,
to the schedule.
let me ask you a last question.
It's according to the schedule.
If you look at what the interbank rates were,
Yes.
and it's good that you make the allusions to pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Sure.
In 2022,
Yes.
May 2022, which is post-COVID, actually 2 years, so-called after effect of the post-COVID, you look at the interbank rate.
That's May what?
May 2022.
Okay.
Please take note.
Okay.
The cedi was exchanging to the dollar at 7.
At 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
May
And
2022.
today it is exchanging to the dollar at 14 on the street.
Right. So
To 15.
so you're talking about
Now,
May of 2022. Roland, no.
Please, let me ask the question. Unless maybe you want to come and be asking the question.
No.
If you look at those
Yes.
absolute figures,
Okay.
how in any way you as an academic, who has now become the technical advisor to the finance minister, tell somebody who is an importer with the Ghana Union of Traders Association that this sort of depreciation for which they had to exchange their money, Ghana cedi mop-up, to have supplies of their stock into their warehouses and then into their shops in Abosokai is better than the 15 Ghana cedi that they have to exchange today.
No. Did you say May 2022?
Are you saying I'm lying? So that
No. I just want to get the figures right. So that it depreciated by 7%, or the rate was 7
the
Ghana
rate
cedis?
at which the cedi was exchanging with the
Was 7
US
Ghana cedis.
was 7.
Okay.
Today.
Yeah, it's
And
much
this is
more.
2 years after the allusion you make
Sure.
with the effect of COVID, Russia, Ukraine. And I'm asking you, how do you explain that to the trader with the Ghana Union of Traders Association and Abosokai, that 7 that they were exchanging their cedi to the dollar to go bring goods from Dubai or China or Turkey or wherever, and the 15 that they have to exchange that rate today is better. Today's own is better than then.
Roland, I haven't said it's better. Not at all. I was
Then what are
reacting.
you saying,
No, the point
Dr.
is,
Ganiyu?
I was reacting to lawyer Edwiji Tamaklo regarding the Cedi depreciation to create the impression that it is worse under the MPP and they manage the Cedi situation better. That is the context. And I've just given figures that prove that even without the difficulties that our economy has gone through in recent times, they couldn't handle the Cedi as better as at least we have done. In fact, I have always proceeded on this argument with a statement that our Cedi has always depreciated. We've been experiencing exchange rate volatility.
You mean 4.2
Yes.
is worse than 15 Ghana cedis?
Why do you like always focusing on the absolute numbers without looking at, if you want, the performance over a period in percentage?
Are you saying that the trader with the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Abosokai,
yes,
deals with the percentages at the time that they go to the Forex Bureau to do the exchanges?
No, you see, I'm not on any collision course with our listeners, or let's say with traders out
so,
there.
Dr. Gani, what are you saying?
And I have not said that a Cedi depreciating at 14% is good. I haven't said that.
What are you saying?
From the beginning, I have even alluded to measures that are being taken to be able to tame the Cedi depreciation. So certainly it's of concern to government. It's of concern to the ministry, of concern to the BOG.
All right.
But when he does the propaganda and creates the impression that the Cedi has become far worse, they manage it better than we have done, that is wrong. Because that's not the figures indicate. Because the Cedi depreciated more in Yafen than it did under the MPP.
How? I'm trying to understand. Anyway, your time is up.
I think you are being mischievous on this, to be honest. And I hope you will ask him same questions.
I was listening. You see, a leader.
You have 5 minutes on this. I'm sorry. I have to go to voter registration.
A thoughtful leader, a visionary leader, does projects that even structurally changes the economy. So you see, but for John Mohammed's visionary leadership in building the Ghana Gas project, would have been spending $350 million annually just to bring gas, LPG, among others. That is how you structurally resolve the challenges with an economy. Now you see, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has about 5 technical advisors. Look at the state of the economy. Even with 5 technical advisors, look at the state of the economy. Now, he made the point about percentages and absolutes. When we are servicing our public debt, do we pay in percentages? Roland.
You pay in absolute number.
You pay in the numbers.
You mop up
the figures, the numbers. Nobody pays his debt in percentages. So this percentage argument is an argument that leads to absurdity. But it's a very convenient argument being proposed. And that is why I am exceedingly happy that you asked him a simple question. If you are in Abosuokai, you are a spare parts dealer. Listen carefully. In 2016, right, if you had 40,000 Ghana cedis, it will give you.
Start from 2009.
Please.
Start from 2009.
I'm talking about. No, hold on. I'm talking about when
you inherited.
No, please. You see, when you I was writing.
Is there a strategy you are adopting?
It's okay. So he made the point.
Like the gentleman.
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in 2016, when he was talking, he never factored in the fact that in 2001, 2002, 2003, the Kufuor administration, at the time when you was at the Bank of Ghana, benefited from HIPIC. HIPIC wiped away your debt. So the amount of money that you could use to service that debt, you retain it. When he was making that analysis, he never factored HIPIC. But conveniently, in 2015-2016, was at Central University, created the impression that depreciation was the problem of John Mahama. 2, if you recall, by the 2014, when Setekwe went to Parliament and benchmarked the price at which we will be selling our crude to be $85 per barrel, within 3 months, crude oil prices fell. You know the heavy reliance on commodity prices and the debilitating effect.
So you're saying they were extenuating factors.
And in fact, when we in 2016 raised the issue of external factors. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia then asked us, did the external factors bypass Cote d'Ivoire to come to Ghana? In 2020, we had the highest deficit within West Africa. Why? Because they didn't have COVID. But you know what? Sometimes there's a better way of exposing such dishonesty. Yes, such dishonesty.
I want to do for test registration.
See, COVID-19 came in 2020, correct?
Yes.
Good. By 2019, Akufo-Addo Bawumia has set up a 40-member committee to arrest the depreciation of the city. Was there COVID?
You mean the one including Frank?
So your incompetence preceded COVID-19 to the point that your own administration had to put a 40-member committee to help arrest the depreciation. So you cannot rely on COVID. In any case, conveniently, you are an academic. You talk about COVID-19 being the problem. From your own numbers, you say COVID-19 created a 14 billion Ghana cedi revenue shortfall. That has been your argument. Meanwhile, COVID-19 gave you $6 billion. COVID-19, if you net it, was a gain. The only thing is that you doubled in corruption with COVID-19 funds.
How do you do that?
The Auditor General, appointed by Mr. Akufo-Addo, makes the point that 500 million Ghana cedi of COVID-19 funds were expended outside GIPMIS.
You mean the special auditor?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, you see, if you pick this whole business, have you noticed that today Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, yes, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has run away from the economy. He's no longer talking about the economy. What is rather conveniently done is to now move into the space of digitalization. The only reason is this. The economy has exposed his incompetence. The economy today has shown that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was just a braggart, empty braggart.
You cannot draw those conclusions. What do you call a vice president who is a presidential candidate?
Look, as we speak today, the man has run away from posts and chasing the wind.
Meaning what?
The man is no longer interested in the economy. The economy is on autopilot. It is on its own. We don't have any hope. It's a situation of hopelessness. And I want to make this point. The more you keep the Akufo-Addo Bawumia hegemony, the more the economy deteriorates. Because you know what? Our external partners do no longer have confidence in them. These are persons who scammed international bond investors with a view.
Did you speak to any external?
Oh yes. Hold on. With a view. Please, which other? If you are a braggart, you are a braggart. If you are a scammer, you are a scammer.
Ghanaian government scam people.
Because,
you allow that?
No, because you told them that you are going to produce 500,000 barrels of crude a day. And so, if they give you their money, you have the ability to pay.
Robert, it's a very
have you been able to pay that money?
It's very hard and unfortunate.
And you see, we must all appreciate that the model Akufo-Addo and Bawumia use is not different from the NAM1 model. That is why today...
So you're a lawyer, shouldn't be using solid language.
What more? If you lie to somebody to take the person's money, what are you? Are you not a scammer? You spent the money.
No,
you cannot tell us what you have used the money for.
To be honest.
And you see,
let's be decent in the language.
What is indecent? You remember the kind of thing Bawumia used to say. I am saying that this administration has scammed the good people of this country. Where is the 1 million per constituency? Dr. Ganu.
Oh, come on.
Where is the one village, one dam?
Now,
Dr. Ganu.
Let's talk on the voters
Everything that you have told the people of this country, you've given them the opposite.
Okay.
I recall, and I'll end here. I recall Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, his usual rhetoric. I shall protect the public purse. Where is the public purse? We don't even know where the purse is. It's taken away. Look, Akufo-Addo told us that he will reduce sole sourcing. Every single thing that you are doing under this regime is sole sourcing.
Why do you say that? Because of SML and all that?
Look, the recent Auditor General report, the Auditor General report on cocoa rules, 87%
Okay.
or cocoa roads were through sole
Please,
sources.
let's discuss.
This is not an NDC auditor general.
But I have this one from Master Planner Junior King,
Please.
who says, when we talk about CD depreciation, the NDC has no moral right to talk. They are only making noise, but if you give them the chance to manage it, they do the worst.
At least we have seen the
Ghana
incompetence
has a
now.
great future with DMB. Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, it is possible. Lawyer Kakri, someone says, who eats percentages? Is this the level of our intellectual debates and intellectuals now? We have more messages coming in. And I have this one from Dr. Akofia, who says, I'm not an economist, but what do these percentages being thrown around explain to the ordinary Ghanaian who is going through these difficulties? The ordinary Ghanaian knows that at a point in time, the dollar was 1.1, 1.2, and now it is 14.93 cedis. The experts using percentages should know that they also live real lives. What's the percentage in salaries from 4.1 at a time it was exchanging to 14.93 in dollar terms in relation to purchasing power? I think that's a very fair question. Chief Mante says, please tell Dr. Ganiu that Ghanaians are tired and sick with the references to the NDC, who Ghanaians voted out of office because they thought that the MPP would do a better job. They should come out with solutions now to help Ghanaians and stop the confusion. Chief Mante with that. Now, can you show me the chart of the numbers that have been registered by the Electoral Commission? And then we'll get to know. We showed it earlier, in which we had the number of the voters coming in for region by region, particularly from all that. So I have this one from Solomon. Solomon says, why are you looking at the depreciation of the cedi from the angle of only importers? A lot of exporters are very happy with the current state of the cedi because they are making more cedis without any extra effort. Banana exporters, cocoa board, crude oil export, electricity export, yam export, etc. Good morning. Thank you, Solomon, for this message as well. Now, this is so far. So far, that has been registered. So we have the Ashanti region with 25,558, followed by the Greater Accra region, 17,837. And then closely, we have the Central region, 15,434. Eastern region, 14,884, and subsequently ongoing. Dr. Gani, what would you make of the exercise?
Well, I think that it's been successful so far, and we have to continue to urge on the new registrants or people who are going to vote for the first time in 2024 to go out there and register and simply exercise what is supposed to be a civic responsibility. So I would only urge that the political parties should continue to urge their members to go out there and register as well. Often we have said that, so as far as elections are concerned, they are won or lost at the polling station or won or lost on the day of elections. So you don't only wait for the day of elections for you to go out there thinking that you are going to win an elections. All of these activities prior the elections remain very, very important. So that is a call I am going to make on all the political parties, especially my party, the MPP. So that is where we are, and I'm impressed looking at the numbers so far. I mean, if you look at the figures from the Ashanti region, for example, it's quite impressive.
That's a strong vote.
And I'm going to urge that my people over there should continue to do more, get a lot of the first-timers out there. And these are people that I believe are going to be very appreciative of the policies and programs of this government, especially free SHS. I mean, from 2020 up to about 2024, you certainly are going to have a lot more of these people being beneficiaries of the free SHS program. So that's a huge constituency, if you ask me. So we need to take advantage of that to just ensure that we have a lot more of people on the voters register. And on election day, if they do turn up, certainly we'll be on our way to breaking the 8. I mean, that is the hope. My friends from the other side feel that it's an election they've already won. You know, if you hear their rhetoric, to the extent that at the address by the former president, the flag bearer of the NDC at UPSA, part of that conversation was centered on positions being shared, more or less, even as they are still in opposition. So that tells you their level of complacency. But 6 or more months to an election, any day, any time, you should expect anything possibly can happen. You know, so we need to work harder at ensuring that we take advantage of this exercise to get a lot more people registered. And so far, there's been calm. And I know there have been some allegations here and there, but obviously those are isolated ones and cannot be said to mar the process. So we continue to urge that all of us cooperate in all those activities towards election 2024, so that at the end of the day we'll have a very peaceful and fair elections.
Absolutely okay, maybe apart from the first day or second.
If you're a young person who just turned 18, whose parents today are having to struggle to make ends meet, if you're a person who have just turned 18, whose parents today are struggling to even get basic provision for you to go back to school, African Education Watch had given an indication that parents are still responsible for 77% of the cost of free SHS.
What's your point with the registration?
The point I am making is that this registration targeted at persons who just turned 18. Their reality is Akufo-Addo Bawumia, and how they have destroyed living and the livelihoods of people. What is also key is that if you look at the numbers, my brother says, so Ashanti region has posted numbers. If you look at the numbers, Ashanti region alone has 133 secondary schools, secondary technical schools, which is the highest in the whole country. So the numbers, even if it's about persons who are in school, it's nothing so strange. But you see, the mistake you guys do is that you believe that Ashanti region can cover up for your misgovernance. You take the people of Ashanti region for granted. And so this morning, you heard my brother. He said, oh, look at the numbers. Ashanti region, all is well. What you do not know is that Ashantis are disappointed in you. At least they appreciate that John Dramani Mahama got them the market because they are great market people. They are great entrepreneurs. Even airport, terminal, you can't operationalize it. And you think the people of Ashanti region don't reason, you are in for a shock. Now he makes the point that, oh, our national chairman admonished. I recall Samuel Uku, my mate in Legon. He was the youth organizer of NPP. Was it the one who in opposition said, take position? By which time have you won? Or he was complacent? Calm down.
When did he say that?
Oh, you never heard Samuel Uku say take position once you were in opposition?
When he said take position,
please.
He
so
meant what?
It tells you. No, I mean, he said take position.
Oh, come on.
That was what he said. But you see, I am happy. And a little caution to,
right
hold on, please.
Now.
A little caution to the Electoral Commission. You see, this time round, like my National Director of Elections, Dr. Omani had pointed out, we will not tolerate incompetence from the Electoral Commission chairperson that can change election result 3, 4, 5 times. No. We are going to put her feet on the fire of accountability. I have also seen a viral video of your communication director, what's the name, Richard, a situation involving his registration, Richard Ahiagba.
Okay.
The party is following up on that conversation because we are extremely worried.
So wait until you have the facts.
We have the fact. The man voted in 2020 election.
Take it easy.
Now he comes back to do another registration. How was he able to vote in 2020 if he was not a registered voter. And I have the document. It was handwritten. We are following this matter keenly.
Well,
Thankfully, on 21st of this month, the District Registration Review Committee will be having a sitting in Ketu South. The entire leadership of the NDC are coming. The Electoral Commission should not try any tricks. Our eyes are on this.
Well,
and we are going to follow into its logical conclusion.
This on his socials, and I have to read it. It says, I have seen some videos on social media by NDC operatives to misinform Ghanaians. The claim that I tried to double register is false and is without merit. It continues to say, this is what happened. 1. I have registered and voted in Ketu South since 2000, and my citizenship and sonship of Ketu South are well known to the NDC agent who challenged my eligibility today. 2. In 2020, I received a voter's ID for the 2020 general elections from the Electoral Commission. However, during the 2023 limited voter registration exercise, my biometrics failed to register, and I have since discovered that many others have had the same issue. 3. I tried to rectify this administrative error during the 2023 limited voter registration exercise. But the EC officials advised me to seek inclusion later or get a new voter's ID card during the 2024 limited voter registration window. 4. Today, I went to the registration center where I registered in 2020 to fix the EC's administrative error, but I was met with a frivolous and obstructive challenge to my eligibility. 5. He continues, despite my attempt to advise the NDC challenger to stop obstructing the registration process, both the NDC agents and EC officials paid no attention. 6. This challenge is a sign of more disruptive acts to come. Therefore, I urge the EC to take a firm and decisive stance to deal with these tendencies and ensure peace. And he continues about how he is committed, etc. So that's his response to it.
There is this gentleman who watches your program, Harrison Ashbeche. Okay. Today happens to be his birthday. And I just wanted to.
So that very issue you said about Richard Hagba, I've written.
And you see, nothing convicts a man faster than his own words. The man in his own thing says that his biometrics were not captured. So how could you have voted in 2020?
But there are other means of verification.
What other means?
Okay, it's okay.
He didn't say verification.
So
you must first have your biometrics captured before you can be verified. No, you are not implying.
Close their pot for me.
We are following
right. So I have this one from Nanaya Jantua, who is a regular watcher as well as a contributor to the show regularly on Thursdays. Good morning to you. Happy Mother's Day to you as well. I wish you, and I love the response as well. The MPP professor in there says it's possible has not been around for a very long time. I believe the equalization must stop and let the MPP redeem themselves in this short time. They should stop their sloganeering and lies. 2017, 150,000 Ghana cedis was $30,000. Yeah. Today, it is around $10,000, and that is called bad depreciation. Well, my response to that is that Dr. Ganyu says those are absolute figures, so don't compare 30,000 to 10,000.
Roland, you are very wrong on this.
Okay, don't worry. Yes. Okay, I withdraw that. I withdraw. I've withdrawn that, Dr. Ganyu.
It was in reaction to what he said.
No, but
okay. Let me continue. I haven't finished. Gentlemen, please close their ports.
Okay.
It was in reaction to what he said.
Roland,
how can you say
tell the professor that he should get a recording of your news at 7 p.m. yesterday, TV3, and listen to what the young ones are saying about who they will vote for if they got nothing to do with free SHS. They said they want a competent government who will change the fortunes of Ghanaians. So they should prefer solutions and not make some of these suggestions. I've been allowed to read more messages. And then she says that for the EC, the least said about them, the better. It is as if they want to destroy the country. Hey, And then Kofi Sika says, yes, lawyer Kofi Jan of the CPP.
Don't play with that, man.
We will give Dr. Abdul Ganiu percentage currency to go and pay back our debt since they are interested in percentage. That's Kofi Sika. And I have this one from Evans Dinko Gary.
Evans.
I think you wanted to say Gary.
Speaking from BOG and Upper East.
It says, please ask the MPP, Dr. Ganiu, when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you mantra.
WAP logic.
It's WAP knowledge and logic to say that when the fundamentals are weak, the city will expose you. What has become the fate of these two economic theories of the same Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia? Justifying one and then deciding not to justify the other. Anas Nadoli Kali, who is a regular contributor of the show. Anas, I hope you're well. He says, Roland, please, listening to the lawyer, he wasted his time coming to your studio. What he can do is to attack his opponent with loose talks. Please tell him the way and manner they are going around with propaganda and lies, they should know this. They can't fool any Ghanaian again. I have this one from Jifa Gunu. Jifa Gunu, this one, the one you've written, it says, Ahiagba is a calm, can't use that word. Okay. It's a calm. Okay, so I have landlord Bolga D line. Landlord, is your traffic light working now? You said some part of your road were not working. Okay, I have since been imagining exactly what MP will criticize NDC on when they go into opposition, because they have done all abundantly, exceedingly above all scandalous possibilities and broken unprecedented new records in democratic governance. I have others also from Alaji Hamza. I can't read, so let me just acknowledge. Elliot Wogbe also says, Lawyer Kakri Sam also sent me some. Fortune says, Roland, I really love the question you're putting to him today. He's talking about percentages, but he knows that the absolute figures are what the lawyers go by. Let me also
can I plead with
tell you that we have cash out. It goes with a short coaster.
Farmers in Northeast demonstrated over the weekend about the Pualugu multipurpose dam.
The 11 million.
Yes, it's a flagship promise Nanado gave and took the Nairi to the spot. As we speak, 4 years down the line, nothing had happened. And I think that...
Then you do come from Pualugu.
It's important that there's a formal apology to the Nairi and the good people of the Upper East and of East for such grand deception perpetrated by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I feel terribly sad.
Maxwell Akpabli says, Lawyer Jim Mensah should be ready to account when the MPP goes back to opposition, etc. Now let me just read this and tell you. So we have a post-Mother's Day promo still on while we celebrated this from the 5th to the 31st of May 2024 at only 910 Ghana cedis. Celebrate Mother's Day in style with a luxurious getaway at Maha Beach Resort. Make sure that you treat your mom to an unforgettable experience with the special Mother's Day package continuing. And the package includes a dreamy room setup, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with some free local drinks. 15% discount on spa. Family movies also available at the cinema there with free popcorns. Free access to all in-house facilities and activities. Free airport pickups service from Friday to Sunday. And then you can do your bookings now. So they want to make sure that they make this special. And so please contact them through the numbers 050-157-0684 or 030-3977-773 for more details. So you can also get onto their website. They have upgrades available, terms and conditions are applying. Dr. Abdul Ganiu, thank you for coming through the studio. And then also Edu Jitamaklo. We don't have much time. Thank you very much.
All right. So
and we're taking a break. When we come back, we have a bigger conversation also. We have King Promise also coming into the house today.